Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach Ma'atam Adonai. Good evening, everyone. We're starting a topic in the laws of blessing, grain as an ingredient in foods. As we've learned before, there's a variety of food out there, and the foods are, some of it, it's with blessing. In some cases, we don't say blessing before or either after. This is why we have these important classes, so we can know what to do every day. Remember, we have to say 100 blessings every day. We want to take advantage and take any opportunity that comes to our hands to say a blessing, but we have to learn what to say when and on which case. Sometimes we are exempt. When you're exempt, it means that you're not supposed to say any blessing. Okay? Otherwise, it will be considered as saying Hashem's name in vain. And as we've learned in the last parasha, if you say Hashem's name in vain, that's the only prohibition in the Torah that Hashem punishes immediately. Okay? Because it's involved within it Chilul Hashem, desecrating Hashem's name. Hashem's name is very holy. You don't just say it. You have to. It comes with a plan, knowing what you're about to say. Otherwise, don't mention Hashem's name at all. All right? It's one of the 10 commandments as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehakol nihyo bidvaro. Amen. Thank you very much to the Medina's family for hosting the shiur. Hashem bless you with all the berachot in the Torah, and you have nachat from your children, and success and beracha in everything you're doing. Amen. Amen. Todah. Now the beracha we left off last time was about donuts. What's the correct beracha over donuts or zalabia? I don't know if you're familiar with zalabia. Zalabia, it's Arabic flat. I would say I can call it a flat donut. It's very common in the Yemenite custom. You guys probably ate my house a few times. Zalabia, it's flat and spongy. Remember that? And what's going to be the beracha? Some think mistakenly that this is hamotzi because they see flour, water, it rises. But the thing is, you don't bake it. It doesn't go through the process like bread, baking in the oven. What do you do with it? You fry it, exactly. So when you fry it, it changes its status. Therefore, it's no longer hamotzi, which is the highest level of beracha. It goes down to mezonot. The correct blessing of oil, which is fried in oil and not baked, is boreh mineh mezonot. So what will be the beracha after eating it? I know when it looks like pita. This is why people get confused. Pita, I know. I eat pita or either lafa. Hamotzi before. Amazon, Birkat Amazon after. Here I see something that looks like a pita. And the beracha now before is different. You're going to say mezonot. What will be the beracha after? After eating them, the correct blessing is me'en shalosh. This is the case even if someone eats an entire meal's worth. Although they are made of a thick bread-like dough, they cannot be considered bread since they are fried and not baked. Okay? So we already see something very interesting here. We are saying beracha charona over something baked different than something that is baked. Frying it, changing its status. So if I take the same one, same dough, and I will bake it, what will be the blessing? Maybe amotzi before, right? And Birkat Amazon after. Yeah. So the process of making this type of food, donuts and zalabia, or alike, is very important. And take its status from hamotzi, Amazon, to mezonot and nefashot men shalosh. Okay?
Is it because of the oil?
Because the process, not only the oil. Almost every bread has oil.
Okay.
Take for example burekas. Burekas you don't fry, right? You baking it. When you bake it, you would say mezanot if you eat small piece, but if you eat a few pieces and you set it up as a meal for you. This is my lunch today. I'm eating for burekas or for empanadas, right? You're baking them, right? Yeah. You bake empanada or you fry?
Empanada? You can do either one.
What's most common?
Baking.
Bake it. Since you're baking it, if you fry it, it will change its status. Same one. You'll fry it, will change status to go down one bracha from המוציא to מזונות. אם אתה קובע סעודה. If it's as a meal and you eat over 216 grams, it's already considered as a meal. So if you go ahead and say and buy 250 grams, give me 300 grams, give me so and so. You know they're weighing it. They're weighing it. Now you know the amount. You should wash your hand, say המוציא, and then ברכת המזון. It's a full meal. It's all סעודה.
You said 200 and what? 16.
216 grams. Oh, huh? I'm not sure. It's different. It's different in every bakery, the size. But you have to consider the filling also. Sometimes it's very thin, and the potato is very. The most of the weight is the potatoes or the meat. Or in cheese is less problem. They're putting less. The cheese. What do you call it? Burekas, burekas, right? It's different. So you calculate it in your, it's in front of you, you can see it, you can tell. Okay. Now, grain as an ingredient in food. Our sages considered grain to be the most significant of all food. If someone makes a cooked food of vegetables or meat, and he adds flour or whole grain to the mixture to improve its flavor or to make it more filling, the correct blessing on this food is boreh minei mezonot. Even though the grain makes up much less than the half the mixture it is considered the major ingredient, and it determines the blessing that must be recited. After eating this food, one must recite the blessing of Me'en Shalosh for the same reason. Clear? Very easy, right? Many cakes and cookies contain much more sugar, eggs, and other additives than flour. Even so, the blessing on all such cakes and cookies is boreh minei mezonot.
Now, Rabbi, what if you're not sure on the burekas thing? If let's say you eat 2-3 of them, I mean, if you're just not sure.
If you're not sure, you would say mezonot.
Oh, okay.
If someone mixes flour into food only in order to give it to give it body, to hold it together, or to improve its appearance or fragrance, but not for the flour's flavor, the flour is not considered a major ingredient. The correct blessing is then determined by the majority of the ingredients. It's called the halacha ledabek. Ledabek means just put it together. Thicken, or if sometimes you add this flour to make it stick together. Okay, so it's there just as an agent, as a helper. So, okay. According to these principles, if someone was cooking a vegetable pudding, kugel, for example, and he added flour to it to hold it together in desired shape, the correct blessing for the pudding is boreh peri ha'adama. In this case, the vegetables are the majority ingredient, and the flour is subordinate to it, like a secondary, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So say secondary. Yeah. It's not the main. It's not the main. Okay. What will be the case if I have food and before I'm processing it, I'm adding flour or breadcrumbs in order to make it thickened or to give it some flavor? What will be the blessing? Now, it's very important that you know this halacha because many mistaking with schnitzel, for example. Most of the people thinking that bracha over schnitzel will be she'akol, but it depends. It depends on the layer of bread that covers it. If it's thick, you have to say mezonot. If it's thin, then the blessing would be shehakol. Some places, in the yeshiva, when I had in the yeshiva, I'm telling you, you could say amotzi over the schnitzel. It was very little meat, and it was much, oh my goodness. You can do netilat yadayim. We were looking for the meat inside. We were not sure if we have to keep 6 hours after. So the blessing there definitely would be mezonot. But sometimes you go to a chatuna, bar mitzvah, an event, they're making it very thick. So, and you don't want to say amotzi netilat yadayim. So then you have to check the thickness of the layer that covers the chicken breast.
Now, how do you know? Is it because it's crunchy?
No, it's crunchy. You see that it's thick.
It's not thick.
You can peel it. It's really, really. If someone added flour or breadcrumbs to a food to hold it together, and also to add flavor, the proper blessing is borei minim mezonot. This is the rule, unless the entire role of the flour is to hold the food together. Only then the proper blessing is that of the major ingredients. If it's just for taste, it will be according to the majority of the ingredients. But if it's also to hold it together, and for the the taste, then the beracha will be borei minim mezonot. Okay? I hope I didn't confuse you on this one. Another very common one is hamburger. Hamburger, right?
That's amotzi.
In my yeshiva, you would say amotzi.
Bun.
Oh, it depends on the bun?
No, a hamburger with meat.
Right.
Some people put breadcrumbs inside.
So I saw how some makes hamburger. They're taking the whole sleeve, they slice it, and they throw it as is to the grill. This is 100% meat. The blessing is shakol. But some, they take in the mix, okay, and they're mixing it with cilantro, egg, salt, onion, you name it, giving it more different texture, taste, making it out of it hamburger or kebab, shish kebab, whatever. Okay. So this is a different animal. This is a different type of food. In which case, the blessing before will be different. We'll see. If someone makes a hamburger and mixes flour or breadcrumbs to the ground meat, only to make it easier to shape and to shape the burgers, the correct blessings for the burgers are she'akol niya bidvaro, same, make no difference, and borei nefashot rabot afterward. If the breading is added in order to improve the flavor of the burgers, then the proper blessing to recite on them is borei minim mezonot. If the breading is 17% or more of the mixture, then the beracha harona for the burgers is me'en shalosh, after. If it is less than that, the beracha harona is borei nefashot rabot. This is explained above in halacha 13. Most of the time, in many cases, it doesn't really make any difference because you eat it with a pita or with a bread. So you're saying hamotzi, you wash your hand, you say hamotzi anyways.
Yeah.
Talking about a case that someone doesn't eat bread.
Oh, so
They just like to snack it.
Lettuce wraps.
Okay, so just the patty. Okay, that's why I was confused. Okay, I get it now. Just the patty.
Now, wafers. What's the bracha on wafers? Waflim.
Wafers.
Oh, wafers. Oh, okay.
Wafers.
Mezonot.
I said like the English one. Wafers.
No, I thought you said waffles.
That's my teacher used to talk. We had a teacher came from London. And always says, put it on the table. The American says, put it on. No, I'm sorry. They're saying, put it on the table,
Yeah,
right?
on the table.
And in America, it says, put it on the table. That's a different. And he will correct you. No. Put it on the table. All wafers, including those covered with chocolate, requires the blessing of Borei Minei Mezonot. Okay, I think we are good here. Up to here, it's good. Let me see. Yeah, next time we'll talk about and we'll conclude this halacha with the following one, that we have a doubt. This is what Jesse asked a few minutes ago. If a small amount of grain is added to a cooked food, but it's not clear whether it was added for its flavor or only to make the food thicker, one should avoid eating it unless one has already recited the blessing of hamotzi on bread, or one is capable of bread, right? Or one is capable of reciting the blessing of Borei Minei Mezonot, and that of the major ingredient on some other foods, having in mind for those blessings to cover this food as well. I will explain. When you have a doubt, you have two options. You're saying hamotzi and everything on the table is covered. Question. In case there is no bread, or you don't like to say hamotzi, anytime you have a doubt, and this is what I do many times, especially nowadays when there's so many type of processed food out there that you can't even tell. You buy a snack, you don't know what's the majority, what's more. It's a big balagan. So I'm confused. I don't know what to say. So I'm taking something from the table that I know for sure that's the blessing. For example, mezonot. This is a cake. Mezonot, you cover all the mezonot. Ha'etz, cover all those that... Yes. So you take from the table anything that is for sure the blessing would be either mezonot, ha'etz, adama, or she'akol, and everything else is covered. This is something very common to do, and it's best. And you have in mind, whatever I eat now, after saying this blessing is covered. So you don't have to worry about its ingredients.
I remember one time we had this talk also. You said you can also just do she'akol, but I guess it has to be obvious, no? Like if you're not sure, you should say she'akol, but you can always just say she'akol. 20 years you say she'akol. You have to know the bracha. Okay. On behalf of Ohev Israel Foundation, bevakasha, everybody go to the website, make your donation to support Torah and families in need, and God bless you for being part of such an important organization, ohevisrael.org. God bless you all. See you momentarily.